And hello, everybody. Welcome to the R&R Show. This is the Preshow. I'm Ruel, joined by our guest with I was going to say the hostess with the mostest, but that doesn't really work, I guess. I don't know.
The hostess with the mostest, Chris,
Yes.
and the extraordinaire person who actually makes the show worth watching, Ray.
Right, exactly.
Aw,
We're all here
shucks.
for Ray, of course. Welcome on in, chat.
Who isn't here for Ray?
No, not
honestly,
me.
let's celebrate
I'm here for
Ray.
chat.
Yeah.
Let's celebrate Ray in the chat.
Yes, I love celebrating Ray in the chat, folks. So let's drop all the emotes and all the stuff. Thank you for joining us, folks. This is episode 97. It's crazy to me to think of how many episodes. We're creeping up on 100, folks. We do have, I'm not going to spoil anything, but we do have some plans for the 100th episode. But we'll talk about that when we get there, because we've got a great show today. And Billy Pratt, thank you so much for letting me know I'm quiet. Let me get my loud mouth going here.
Ruel is just a soft-spoken, beautiful man.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Hopefully that works.
You know, as opposed to my just constant screaming. Ruel is the one. Ruel brings the demure, brings the mindful.
I'm so mindful.
So demure, so mindful.
Yes. Hopefully that works a little better. Let me know how.
Oh no. Turn it down. Turn it down.
Way too loud.
Ruel has brought the voice of God.
There it is.
Ruel,
too loud.
Ruel has come from his thing on high to blow our eardrums out. I think you still got to adjust it, Ruel.
Okay. I will bring it down a little bit here. Let me do it here. Okay. How's that? Check 1, 2.
I think you could 50% yourself.
Oh, 50%.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Maybe it's because I brought the mic all the way up here. I will 50% my. Okay. B Travis sounds good. Okay. Thank you. How's that, folks?
That sounds better.
That better?
That sounds good. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
I can just turn it down on my end and just shout
friends
louder.
in chat, let us know how all of our levels are. It's all about the levels.
Mm-hmm.
Welcome on in, everybody. Saw Jamie Daggers in the house, John Tripp, AG Fox, all of y'all here. Thank you so much, Meeples and Mocktails. I always like that name, Meeples and Mocktails. That is a great username. Chicken Free Cage, AG Fox, B Travis. I'm repeating names here. I'm sorry if I missed y'all, but welcome.
What's your favorite mocktail, Meeple and Mocktail?
That was a great question.
Let us know. I had some very delicious cocktails because one of the guys in the cast of the show that I just finished is like a really good bartender. So he finished it up by making some custom cocktails at the end. It was great.
Oh, did you do the no practice Shakespeare? Did that happen, or is that happening later? Nice.
No,
how was it?
That happened on Sunday. It was good. We had a lot of rain, but so we took out a couple scenes near the end just so we could skip to the end to give the big finale. And I had this is how I looked at the end of the play.
Oh, did you had the blood packets with you and everything?
Oh
yeah.
My.
Yeah, and then at the end
awesome.
I got pied in the face, and then I got an entire bucket of blood dumped upon me.
Wow.
And thankfully,
just like in regular Hamlet. That's crazy. I thought you were gonna do something different.
No. Well, this one was Macker, so we did switch it up in terms of that one.
That is amazing.
But and it was great because one of my patron members, shout out to Hillary, was sitting in the front row, and so was able to get that shot of me, and so then I could have that shot. I was as we were leaving the stage, I was like, that's awesome, because I really
awesome.
wanted to get a photo. Obviously, it's not every day you're covered in a bucket of blood.
Speak for yourself.
Yeah.
Jamie says Yada Young's Shakespeare's a real flex at a no practice show, right? I'm so sad that it's not something I could have witnessed.
Yeah, it was a pretty fun time. We what were some of the highlights of what people did? The witches choreographed dance numbers. They did like the Mean Girls.
No practice choreographed dance numbers?
Well, they got together and made sure to practice their dance numbers. But and then we had Banquo, who had an inflatable riding horse that he just rode on stage every time, which was pretty great.
Amazing.
The guy who played the king hired a bagpiper to accompany his every entrance. So we had a full bagpipe person walking behind him, and he's like, the King of Scotland.
Did anyone know that was happening? Were the bagpipes bagpipes a jump scare to people. That's awesome. That no one knew that there were going to be live bagpipes.
Yeah, he didn't
That's
tell
incredible.
us. And then McDuff dressed up as Shrek and did the whole thing as Shrek.
Amazing. Oh my
which
God.
was just, so funny. It's like, you get out of my swamp at the end. Right in our final battle. It was very funny. So a lot
fantastic.
of
a
lot of funny things.
That's incredible.
Tyler's dad loved Chris pajamas. They're not pajamas. They're a nice shirt. This is by Ludo Cherry. This is a company called Ludo Cherry, and they make board game shirts.
Yeah.
And really, if I go closer and closer,
I've never been able to actually get any of their drops, but they were everywhere a couple years ago. Their stuff was really nice.
Are they still around? Because their stuff is really.
I don't know.
I haven't heard anything from them in a while. I feel like I just saw them everywhere for like during COVID, and then nothing since. But
yeah, I think they're an Australian company, and I don't know. I bought one for myself, and then I got one for Christmas from my parents.
Oh, okay.
That's awesome.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Did I hear bagpipes and Shrek? What was this, Ray?
There's a running gag on my channel that I have a secret perfect Shrek impression that I refuse to show anyone. So. Not happening on the show. Not happening on the show.
I think it is.
No, it's not.
I really think it is.
That
I don't think that there's a world now that I can live in without you doing your Shrek impression, Ray.
That ruins the bit. You just have to imagine it. That and the bagpipes thing. Chicken is referencing.
Stop imagining.
Chicken is referencing a time when a friend of ours is Scottish, and we bought him a bunch of goofy heritage things from Scotland. And because I played the bassoon, which is a double reed instrument, there's only a handful of instruments that have double reeds, one of which I believed was bagpipe. So all my friends were like, that's a transferable skill. Like, if we just get you a bagpipe, could you like play it as we like surprise our friend with all this random Scottish stuff? And I was like, absolutely, bet I can do that. The timing of this was like Saturday night of PAX Unplugged. I had just finished working a full day. I run to this random Airbnb. I grab these bagpipes that they like stowed in a closet because our friend was like coming downstairs. Turns out, not a transferable skill. Nobody told me. This is going to be like too technical for probably 98% of you, but someone's going to know what I'm talking about, and they're going to appreciate it. When a bassoon has a reed, so you know how like saxophone and stuff have a reed. Bassoon has two of them together, and they're on it's what you blow into when you play a bassoon. That's the instrument that I play. Bagpipes also have a double reed. I was under the impression that it was also, the part of the instrument that you blow into. Turns out, no, they go inside, and then you blow into the plastic. So I was playing it completely wrong, and it sounded like absolute. It sounded like something was dying, because I was like, oh, I know how to play a double reed. I'm gonna just like bibbity bop. No,
wow,
it was really bad.
But now you know. But now you know, and you could probably do it.
Yeah. Now I could probably do it.
So what is it going to take for us to have a bagpipe performance from Ray on these?
Just provide the bagpipes. At this point, I'm happy to be your on-call bad bagpiper. As long as you provide the pipes, I got you.
I'll send you some bagpipes. Does Timu have bagpipes? Oh, let's see.
I don't want to.
Baby.
They gotta have that like 2 weeks.
It's gonna be like lead paint or something. I don't want to.
Oh yeah.
I don't want to die.
Oh, the Timu bagpipes in the mail right now. That would be hilarious. That's so awesome.
That's what Chica was talking about.
Yeah.
How many bits do you get the impression? Like 1 million. It's not happening.
Yeah.
It's funnier when it exists in like the collective conscious, but it doesn't exactly like truly exist.
Yeah.
Okay,
That's
could we get your donkey impression then?
No.
Oh yeah. No?
We'll leave Shrek for later.
Yeah. Chicken's just causing chaos.
Yeah, AG Fox says, let's cool our bits. I agree. I'll throw in some bits on that. Folks, we've got a great show today. We're going to be talking about our hidden gems of 2023. That's where we go back and look at the year of gaming and find some games that you may not have either heard of or we feel like slipped under the radar a bit. So we'll be recording that in just a little bit here. What you're watching now is the pre-show. We get to hang out with y'all and do silly things. We have silly bits that people have cashed in for some viewer rewards, and we'd like to reward you, the viewer, with some of these things. And one of them was, let me pull it up on my screen here, and it was
Ray's Shrek impression.
Ray's Shrek impression followed by Ray's bagpipe solo.
This is just another avenue for harassment.
Yeah. Actually, we'll do this. Let's do some gaming stuff right now. Tempo Town, if you're here, thank you for joining us. You had requested this 2 months ago, and apparently it just slipped up past us. But they've cashed in a "there can only be one." So Tempo Town asks, if I can only have one Reiner Knizia design game, which should it be? Very good question, Tempo Town. So, Reiner Knizia.
Not me Googling what games.
Yes.
My brain just went blank.
Here are the hits. Here are the main hits that will probably come up: Ra, Tigris and Euphrates, Samurai, Modern Art,
Lost Cities.
Lost Cities. I don't like Lost Cities that much. It can go. It's not
really?
the right. And it only plays 2. Nah, get a gun.
Okay, here's another 2-player game. Shot and Totten. That's another one. AKA
okay.
Line.
Yeah. Or Battle Line. Yeah.
What else? So
I got the BGG list pulled up.
Okay,
yeah. But I feel like those are sort of the greatest hits that I think I would pull from.
Yes.
As like a recommendation.
Yep.
I think I know. Oh, this is tough. I think I need to redo my top like 50 list because I did it like a year and a half ago, and I think some things have shifted around. I think specifically like my favorite Reiner Knizia has shifted since then.
So mine's like total sentimental pick because it's the first one I ever played was Samurai, and I love Samurai. But I'm looking at this list. I'm on the same BGG list, Ray. Chris, I always forget about this. I forget that the Quest for El Dorado is by Knizia. And
I've never played it.
Oh my gosh,
Me
really?
neither.
Oh, it's such it's Reiner Knizia does a deck builder, and it's fantastic. It is a deck building race game, and it is so good. Oh, so if for Tempo Town, if they could only have one, which would it be? Ooh, High Society. Oh, Ingenious. I just played Ingenious.
Oh yeah, High Society is good, but you could play QE instead of High Society and get like a similar.
Agreed.
So for me too, I'm then trying to think about games that like sort of emblematic of Reiner Knizia and his career, and also might not be like replicated by other games.
Yep.
I have my gut one. My favorite Reiner Knizia, I think, is Raw. Now, having had so much experience with it, I played a great game of Raw this summer with the cast. Nice. It was a bunch of fun. But that's not what I would pick for the Reiner Knizia.
Yeah.
I would pick. Do you have yours, Ruel? Do you have your official? There could only be one.
Okay, so in my heart of hearts, it is Samurai. But I'm gonna put that aside, and I do have a choice for our friend Tempo Town who requested this. I have the choice that I've picked one. I'm good to go.
All right, Ray, have you played many Reiner Knizias?
I was just gonna say this is one of the big designers that I don't feel like I've played a lot. Like I've never played Raw. We've talked about that. Haven't played. What was the other? Tigris and Euphrates. I've never played that. I don't know why. For whatever reason, I just didn't. He wasn't a designer that I grew up on. But I do have the one I would. I do probably have the one I would pick.
All right. Ray, do you want to start?
Travis says
this
Callisto.
Is a very uneducated take, because again, I don't think I've played a lot of them, but High Society is one of my favorites. I think High Society would be on my list.
Yeah.
I mean, I would also say Raw, because I've been trying to get a copy of Raw since Chris has talked about it. It's very expensive everywhere right now.
Really?
Yeah.
It should be widely available in retail. Maybe it sold out because it's been doing so well.
I checked last time we talked about it. I remember I sent you like an Amazon link that was like $400, something crazy like that. I was like, what is happening? It was probably before the reprint or whatever. I'm gonna say High Society because it's one I've played a lot that I really enjoy. I mean, I get the QE comparison for sure, but
Yeah, that I love High Society. It's such a lean auction game, and I love that mechanism of only having a certain number of cards you can bid with. I think that's really clever.
I like it a lot.
Yeah.
I also like Modern Art, but if I'm going to pick one, I would go with probably High Society.
Same. I don't know what it is. My hot take is I don't like Modern Art as much as everyone else does. Yeah, I don't know what it is. I need to play it again.
That's
I think
fair.
it just really fell flat with me the one time I played.
I like it, but I think Raw's a better auction game. But I played Modern Art for the first time this summer because my buddy Pat brought it, and it was great. But I just really liked being the auctioneer and going 10,000, 10,000, hey, 15,000, 15,000, what are you gonna do? 20,000, 20,000, and just driving the prices up. And that was 100% the reason I won.
Yelling, I'm shocked.
Yeah,
that's his top-rated BGG mechanic is yelling.
Yeah, I got to redo that list too. Screaming at your opponents.
That's in game. You can strategically scream.
Yeah, well, really, the only reason I won that game is because I got everyone so excited to keep bidding that they forgot that they shouldn't have been bidding, and I was like, "Oh, don't be a little loser over there. Who's gonna bid? Who's gonna bid?" And then people kept bidding, and I was like, "This is a very poor choice, but I'm very happy to be taking all of your money."
That's fantastic.
That's great. I'll go next. The choice I went with was, we just talked about, the Quest for El Dorado. I think it is an awesome deck building game. I think it's just a really cool race game, and I feel like it could totally be rethemed. Like, I mean, I get it's like Indiana Jones adventurer type, but you could totally retheme this into, I feel like, something a little more exciting. But the game itself is fantastic. It's Reiner Knizia's take on deck building, really streamlined, really quick, and just a great game to get on the table. So that's my choice, the Quest for El Dorado, and we're going to leave it up to Chris for the ultimate Knizia game.
Well, I'm glad you've left it up to me. A.G. Fox said, Chris made the game about himself? How dare you? I'd like to say that publicly as well as in the chat. But I think the number one for me is Tigris and Euphrates. And don't run out and buy a copy right now because it's out of print. But like any Reiner Knizia, it will come back into print. Like, it is one of his most well-known things. It's probably just a licensing thing. You can wait. You're fine. But so, like, don't be like, oh, Chris said it, run out. I understand the power I have, the sway I hold,
the influence you have. Yes,
but don't do that. But I would give it to Tigris and Euphrates mainly because of the innovation with like the Knizia scoring, which did Tigris and Euphrates come out before Samurai? I think it did.
They're really close.
I think Samurai is 99 and Tigris and Euphrates is 98. But I'm just double checking that right now.
Okay, Euphrates
97 is Tigris and Euphrates,
and Samurai 98. So yeah, 1 year before. Nice.
98. Hey. It's almost like I know my stuff.
You do.
But, well, it's almost like it because I got it wrong, really. It was stupid. Idiot! But I would say Tigris and Euphrates because of that Knizia scoring mechanisms of, which is essentially set collection, but they don't call it set collection, where if you get 100 black points and you get 1 red point, your score is 1.
Yes.
And I think that sort of scoring system and that idea of needing to evenly distribute yourself across a wide variety of points and point systems, and you can't just kind of focus on one thing. You have to have that broad general thing, and making those wild points worth more, so much more, because then it really fills the cup of what you have been lacking. I think Tigris and Euphrates is just sort of like a monumental design feat, so I think in terms of like his, like, Reiner Knizia, when I interviewed him for WSBG, he was like, oh yeah, I don't have time to play games because I'm too busy making 700 games. And I was like, that's fair. He's like, but it's great when I come up with something and somebody else comes up with something and I like haven't played any of their games. It feels good that like we're sharing the same like vocabulary and finding that cool. Like design and whatever. And so I think like while he has dabbled in a lot of different things, I think this is potentially like one of the more like innovative impacts that you can kind of see ripple through like the board gaming sphere. So that's why I would give it to Tigris and Euphrates and there can only be one, just because it is that sort of like initial innovative rippling, and the tactical tile placement is quite fun as well.
That, we had talked a little bit earlier about Ingenious, and that uses the same type of that Knizia scoring, right? You have like 5 different colors you're scoring, but your lowest is your actual score. So you do have to balance. And I love that. He does that in a bunch of his games too, which is neat. But yeah, great choices, y'all. Those folks, there you go. 3 Knizia games that you must have.
B Travis is saying Raw is on Kickstarter right now, so I think they are doing like a Kickstarter reprint if you want to get like the deluxe. And yeah, I'm debating if I'm going because I like Raw so much that, and I know they're coming with a new expansion. I haven't read the rules for that expansion yet. I need to dive into it. I haven't gotten the chance to dive into that yet, but I'm really trepidatious about there being an expansion to Raw because I'm like, this is such a good game.
Yeah.
Like I don't want you to like overcomplicate it. I just want you to like leave it as is. But I'm like obviously open to it. But I think that's part of the Kickstarter, if I'm not mistaken. But that's the only sort of thing I know of. But I would contemplate getting the deluxe because I like it so much in the wooden drawing for the tiles. I don't know.
I just have to back it just so I can get it.
Yeah, like, the deluxe version.
I just checked again. It's out. It's out of stock a lot of places still. Either that or like super expensive.
I think there's also, if I'm not mistaken, there's a roll and write version of the game that's out on this Kickstarter. Raw and Write.
Oh yeah, the Raw and Write.
Yeah.
Which sounds funny to me, but you know, hey, more Knizia is a good thing in my book. I'm okay with that.
I think we should change it to Ray and Write.
Ray and Write. There it is.
Just zhuzh it up a bit.
Just give it a little zhuzh. I've got a weird hot take about the. I feel like there's been a lot of punny takes on the roll and write name. Like there was roar and write. There's lots of that.
Yeah.
My weird. I'm not to like yuck anyone's yums, but my weird hot take on that is I feel like it's kind of exclusionary. Like it's a pun that only people in the board gaming space understand. Like I wonder if there are people who are like who would pick it up and they're like roar and write. What does that mean? Like I guess it still kind of makes sense, but like I don't know. I see a lot of games have been doing that recently, doing like puns on the roll and write name, and I'm like, nobody we're a little insulated here. I feel like it doesn't. Do you know what I mean?
Although I don't know if people would know what a roll and write is if they don't know it. You know what I mean? If they see roll and write on the box, I don't know if that necessarily communicates.
That's true.
That's fair.
Information.
Yeah. That's fair. It is like the only. I mean, I guess we do that with trick taking sometimes. It's interesting. There's not a lot of genres where the genre serves as like a subtitle, right?
Right.
That like doesn't happen very often. It wouldn't be like Gnome Hollow, a tile laying game. You know, like there's not a lot of. I guess it's such a specific genre that it serves as an advertising beat in that way.
Okay, so
Ron Raycon's too loud for my kids. That's cute.
So what you're saying, Ray,
I was like, obviously, I love Ron Ray.
Roll and write. There's no Nomen right apparently.
No Nomen right.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's an unformed thought, but I just I don't know. It occurred to me when you said raw and right. I was like, what does that mean to the average person? What is a raw and right? What does that mean?
Yeah. John Tripp, I hear you here. Raw is awesome, but I have almost zero interest in an expansion. But as a second chance to get the super deluxe, I understand why people are pledging. Oh yeah, I totally get that. You know, I'm going to go off on a tangent here. The movie The Killer, it's on Peacock right now. Have y'all seen this? The preview? It's a movie by John Woo, and he basically remade his own movie. It was also called The Killer from the 80s, one of the all-time greatest action movies ever. A genre-defining action movie. And it's like, he went back and remade it. I'm like, why? And it's, I don't know. I haven't seen it yet, but I'm interested because he recast everyone, obviously. And instead of a male protagonist, it's a female protagonist and all this. But I'm like, it's like messing with perfection. Like, I guess that's how, talking about a raw expansion, you know, you're messing with perfection. It's good, you know. Why add? It'd be like remaking The Godfather. Or remaking. I don't know. That's a total tangent. But yes, I'm gonna see it on Peacock real soon. There's your advertisement for The Killer, folks.
I mean, guaranteed The Godfather will be remade at some point.
That makes me so sad.
Or it is inevitable.
Would they remake Goodfellas? That would like make me sad.
It's got the remake bubble has got to burst eventually, but boy howdy, we just keep doing it,
right?
Because it sells. I don't know. I like drew the line at the live action Lion King remake. It was so uncanny and weird, and I'm like, why are we? Yeah. But people love it so much. They're making a second one because it sold a bunch.
Yeah,
is that going to be Lion King too?
I think it's the story of Mufasa or something. It's some like new original.
Is it like a prequel
story?
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's a prequel. I don't think because there was an animated Lion King 2, I believe, and I don't believe it's that.
Okay.
But it's been a hot minute since I've seen the original.
Well, yeah, because that's where you have Kovu and Kiara.
Live action. Yeah.
The famously the hottest animated character, Kovu.
That's valid.
John Tripp, thank you for agreement. Yeah, folks, if you haven't seen The Killer, see the original. It's got one of the greatest endings of any movie ever. I'm just going to leave it like that. No spoilers, but it is absolutely fantastic. It also put Chow Yun-fat, the actor, international actor, on the global stage, and also John Woo's a director. I could go on forever about those Hong Kong action movies from the 80s, but I'm not going to, because we're here to talk about games, folks.
That's true.
Right? So why don't we jump into it? Because we have a show today where we're going to be talking about hidden gems. And folks, if you don't know, Richard also contributes his own top 10 list that he's going to share with us afterwards during the post show. And we want to make sure that we get the show done in time so we can watch that.
That's true.
And we can talk about all our picks that didn't make the list as well. How's that sound, friends? Are we good to go?
Sounds good.
I'd say let's get into it.
Okay.
And also in chat, drop your own hidden gems of 2023. I want to know.
Yeah,
and so that, and drop them quickly, because I haven't picked mine yet, and I need 3. Quickly! I need to say something.
Yeah. By the way, if anyone noticed, we don't have the little avatars running around the screen and stuff today, because something happened on Steam that they just shut down that program. I don't know what's going on. So hopefully we're gonna get them back soon, folks. I will talk to. Yeah, we'll figure something out. I'll send an email to Steam saying, please bring back our avatars. The people want it. The people are going to get it. Okay.
But the real avatars are right here. We know. If you wondered where all of your avatars are, they're actually in this pocket right here. And I've just been hoarding them so that I can keep you all close to me.
Now you all know where they are.
While we go through this list. The real hidden gem is you watching.
Oh, I was waiting for that. Perfect, Chris. That's so perfect.
Beautiful.
I love that. Let me change the title of the show. Top 10. Okay, hidden gems. Let me close all these windows that we don't need here. Boom. And I think we are good to go. Now, we do have a sponsored thing. So I'm going to do the intro over the little box cover, and then it's going to play a trailer. It'll be 2 minutes, and then we'll come into this scene here. Folks, thank you again for joining us. If there's a raid or something, just let folks know in the raid that we're recording this for YouTube, and when we're done with the show, we'll come back to interacting and hang out with y'all, because we want to hear what your hidden gems are as well. Okay, here we go. Let me go to this screen, and let me make sure I get this right. And here we go. Hey everybody, welcome to the R&R Show, episode 97. And this episode is brought to you by Phalanx Games, publisher of Lords of Heaven.
Take command of one of the 4 medieval powers. Relentless crusaders, bent on conquering the Holy Land. Bold Seljuks, eager to expand their new empire. Wealthy Byzantines, hoping to restore their glory. Or the proud Caliphate, fighting to keep Jerusalem in their hands. Expand your domain. Construct buildings. And develop your holdings. Gain new followers. Increase your military presence. And make good use of powerful events. Collect tribute from your lands and benefit from the generosity of pilgrims. Fight for control over the Holy Land, gain military and financial support, and begin your campaign. Show your diplomatic touch and appeal to others for support, and hope your foe won't be as persuasive as you are. You won't always have allies to support you. Both leaders devise their tactics and gather their forces. The battle ensues. The line is broken. Do you have what it takes to rally and beat back the enemy? Not today, it seems. But the ultimate triumph is not always won on the battlefield. skillful politics and cunning diplomacy, they instead opened the gates to heaven. Pledge now.
And hello, everybody, to the R&R Show, episode 97. My name is Ruel Gaviola, joined as always by my co-hosts with the most, Chris and Ray. Chris, Ray, how are you, friends?
Doing great.
Fantastic.
Some hidden gems.
Yeah.
I'm excited to be crowned the Lord of Heaven. I've always known it was a title that I wanted, and now I can get it for my own.
There you go.
Yes, and it is Chris, folks. I want to thank Phalanx Games again for sending us over that wonderful preview of Lords of Heaven. Be sure to check out the links below to back and possibly back the Kickstarter for Lords of Heaven. Also in the show notes below, you'll see a link to the extended episode, extended edition of this episode, where we talk about all kinds of stuff during the pre-show and post-show, and the top 10 hidden gems that you're going to see right now of 2023. We're going to have a bunch more we're going to talk about after the show itself, so be sure to click on that link for the extended edition. And you may also want to check out the pre-show there, because Chris shared a photo that was sort of disturbing, and you need to see it, folks.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah,
and I can't share it again now, because it's a one-time thing. It disappeared into the ether.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Into the air. They vanished.
Yes. I'm excited about this show. I love hidden gems. As someone, all three of us, we do a lot of stuff, content, and in the industry, we see a lot of games, and I like sharing those games that may be a little bit off the beaten path, under the radar, as you say, and it's exciting because a lot of these games, they're fantastic games, just for whatever reason, people don't know about them, or maybe they do and they don't appreciate them as much as we do. Before we get going, was there any criteria you want to talk about, Chris or Ray, about how you took on this list and how you came up with your games?
I mean, I struggle with this a little bit just because I feel like, especially with my top of 2023, I felt like they were kind of, I mean, I think I said game of the year for 2023 was Drapolter. Like, it was kind of a hard thing for me to go back.
I saw Drapolter.
I picked a really obvious pick for 2023. It's like, no, I picked Drapolter. I picked a game where you drop things, and that's the whole game. Yeah. I feel like I have a weird barometer for what a hidden gem is. I feel like I take some pride in being a peddler of odd board games.
Yes.
I don't know if these on my list would qualify as hidden gems. These were just, I kind of took it as like games that didn't make it into my final cut, because I feel like I haven't heard much about any of these games. So yeah, I don't know. I think it's an interesting what people consider. We live in such little pockets, right? Where one person might see a lot of marketing for a certain game that just never crosses someone else's path. So I don't know. It's a little subjective, but I'm excited to see what people brought to the table.
Nice. What about you, Chris?
I like it being 2023 and us like doing it later enough into 2024 that you've had a bit of time to reflect and see how these have panned out. And so with that, like, I used BGG mostly. Whenever I talk about hidden gems, I just say, okay, whatever's above 1,000 on BGG. Anything that hit in that category for me, I was like, I can put that in, because they're not ranked in the top 1,000 board games on Board Game Geek. And I certainly have less than 1,000 board games myself. I have 998. I do not. So that's how I kind of approached it. And then going through, I was like, oh, these are the games that I liked that are sort of lower on the list. And so it gives me a chance to talk about them. My number one is something that I like. I gave like a 4.5 out of 5, but I'm going to change that today on this show to a 5 out of 5.
Right.
Wow, watch out.
Yes.
So get excited, everyone, for these numbers to tick up.
Yes.
But that's what I used. I used BGG mostly. Made sure it was over 1,000. I didn't consider anything that was lower than that, or higher than that, depending on how your brain is thinking.
Yeah.
But
awesome.
Yeah, that was mine.
All right, I may have to do that BGG thing next time, because I feel like I just sort of fly off the cuff here. I'm like, well, this is a hidden gem. No one's really talking about this, so that's how I approach it. I'm just like, whatever. I went more by feel, I guess, rather than a BGG ranking.
That's valid.
So, With that out of the way,
sometimes I go purely by mouthfeel.
Yeah, it is
of the games. Just how they.
Is this hidden gem? Let's start off with our number 10. Chris, what do you got for us, friend?
Number 10, I think does kind of qualify as a hidden gem. Is the least hidden of the hidden gems, I suppose, because it's a re-implementation of a system. I think. Get it up on the screen, Ruel, to make sure I'm talking about it correctly. Okay. I think I pick
number
this
10
one
is Astro Knights.
That's the one I thought.
Okay.
But I forgot. So I'm gonna ask you to do that every time. No, I've forgotten them because they are so hidden, right? They're so out of mind.
Exactly, out of mind, out of sight.
Let's keep going. I picked Astro Knights because this is the re-implementation of Aeon's End. Aeon's End is a really sort of beloved system. It's had about 9 expansions at this point, and so Astro Knights has come into the scene. Astro Knights now has an expansion as well, and they're expanding the system. But I think it takes the core element of Aeon's End, and it does a couple really nice things with it that have made me want to keep both Astro Knights and Aeon's End in my collection. Like, they're different enough, I think, to warrant playing with both because of the feel. I find Astro Knights to be a little bit lighter, a little bit easier, and the main difference is the rotating card market. In Aeon's End, you can just get a really weird card market if you choose 9 random cards, and they may help you or it may not. And here, you're kind of always playing with the same decks, and those same sort of 6 decks of cards where you have access to purchase 6 cards into your deck, and then when you remove one of them, a brand new card will show up. So it is this sort of revolving market that is organized by category, and I think that's really fun and a significant enough take on the system to warrant Astro Knights existing. Some people also like the sci-fi theme a little bit more too, which is fun. It depends if you like sci-fi or fantasy. But I think it's like a really neat new application of the system, and I have liked seeing it exist, and I've enjoyed playing with it as well. I think my preferences always skew towards a little bit harder. And so I'll always skew towards Aeon's End because I do believe it is a bit harder because you can give yourself a bad board. Like, you can give yourself a bad market of cards that don't synergize and like try to figure it out. But I think there's something really great about the streamlined nature of Astro Knights, and the setup time is less with Astro Knights. And I think as they create more content for it, I think the complexity might even deepen a little bit in that regard too. So I like seeing both exist, and I think Astro Knights is easily passed over because people are like, well, it's just Aeon's End, right? It's Aeon's End exists, it's a re-theme, it's a reskin, and I think it isn't, but I think it is its own unique thing, and I like that it exists, so that's why I wanted to put on the list and talk about it.
Yeah, I know Richard and you both are like the biggest proponents of this game, and I'm very, very curious. I recently got a copy. I have not opened it yet, but because you guys speak so highly of it, I can't wait to play it. Is there, like, I don't know, as far as someone that's for someone that hasn't played Astro Knights, would you recommend it over Aeon's End?
It depends. It depends on your preferences. Mm-hmm. If you like a little less, if you like having a game that is more sort of inherently balanced out of the box, that you don't have to look up setups for, what cards should I use, then I think Astro Knights is a better pick. If you like something with a little bit more edge to it with your co-op, I think then Aeon's End. That's what I would go between the two. Mm-hmm. Just because I did find Astro Knights to be pretty easy, but I also have had a lot of experience with really bad combinations of cards. Like, when I played Aeon's End Legacy, we played it incorrectly. Like, it was my first time playing Aeon's End. We played it incorrectly, and we accidentally played on super duper hard mode the whole time, because there are these events that pop up and they have counters on them. It's like, in 3 turns, like, this thing will activate. But we made it activate every time 3 times.
No.
We won about 50% of our games in the Legacy, and I feel so good about that win rate. Looking back, but we were really like concerned about like balancing things and the card markets, and if you got like a bad card market that wasn't curated, you'd just be wrecked. But in Astro Knights, I find it is a little bit more friendly and a little bit easier to table because of that, and potentially easier to get people interested in the system. So that's what I would say.
That's really cool. I love games that you like you say they're easier to get to the table, and I feel like this one would be the one that's a lot easier than Aeon's End. So very cool. I cannot wait to crack open my copy. And Ray, I know you're such a big cooperative player. I'm sure you're looking forward to it as well.
Oh, I think you're muted a bit
muted,
there, Ray.
Oh,
Ray, you might still be muted just on your end.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm just yapping.
There it is.
Yapping.
Yeah.
Well, honestly, it was the bleep button because we started talking about co-op games, and we knew that we had to mute Ray, or else she would go off saying some really intense things.
No, I was just saying I discovered last episode that I have tucked deep away. I have some occasional love for co-op games, but yeah, this one doesn't quite seem like my jam, but I can see why you like it.
Yeah, nice. Okay, let's talk about something that is more your jam, Ray, with our number 9.
Yeah, so my number 9 is a game called Retrograde, which we were talking about roll and writes during the pre-show. If you want to see my half-baked hot take on roll and writes, this is a real-time roll and write, which I love when weird combinations get weirdly combined. With an arcade, like a retro gaming arcade theme. And if you haven't noticed in my background behind me, I love retro games. Outside of board gaming, my second biggest collecting hobby is collecting old retro games. I have a whole Twitch channel dedicated to playing these games. I love it. So thematically, I'm already on board. And this is exactly what it sounds like. It is a real-time roll and write game. It's basically you are going to be all at once rolling a collection of dice that's kind of re-rolling them like Yahtzee, right? You can select ones to re-roll as many times as you want. And when you have a selection of dice that you like, you can grab cards from the center of the table, and those will allow you to blast droids you have on your little roll and write sheet. There's a fun little spatial puzzle where you have to shoot droids that are adjacent to each other. And that's pretty much it. It's a nice, simple, I love the chaos of this game. Some of those cards have fun power-ups on them. My favorite thing is that when you're ready for the next round, there's this rule where you shake the dice really loudly to indicate that you're ready, and you wait forever, like, come on, we're ready. Everyone's shaking their dice. It's obnoxious, and I love it. And that's pretty much it. It's just, it's chaos. I think it's a cool combination of mechanics. It's themed really well. It's got this the different sheets that you have look sort of like Astro blasters or whatever. And yeah, that's Retrograde. I don't have a ton to say about it. I just think it's a really clever combination of mechanics. It's very clean, and it's a duality I've never seen before.
I've never heard of this game, Ray, and I totally want to play it.
Ruel, it's real-time Yahtzee.
I know, this is
you guys
awesome.
try
I've never heard of it either, Ray. That means it's a hidden gem.
This is my jam.
I did the thing.
Gosh,
Ruel, we got to get you a copy.
Please.
I can hook you up. You would love this.
Fantastic. And you know, it reminds me of the game the retro game is Space Invaders, right? That's like a 70s video game. And they actually had a real Space Invaders game. It was also roll and write, and it was not good. It was
no. Yeah, well, this one is good.
And this looks fantastic. I love the real-time element, and anything, Ray, that where there's an element of being annoying with like shaking dice or whatever, I'm all
love
for
it.
It reminds me of one of my favorite annoying things is Magic Maze, when you have the little token that you slam on the table to tell someone, hey, hurry up, it's your turn. I love that. So
yeah, the do something pawn.
Pawn, that's right. Oh, this looks fantastic.
Absolutely.
Thank you for sharing this. Yeah. This I definitely need a copy of this. This is awesome.
We'll have to hook you up because it's basically the same concept, right? You've got these dice that have the droids on them, and you're re-rolling them as fast as you can until you get a combination that you like, and then you're racing to grab a card from the center. And then if you're like the last person, you get a certain number of re-rolls, and then it's over. So it's Yahtzee, but just more chaotic and ridiculous with a really cool theme. So
that is
I'm actually shocked you hadn't heard of it before. Yeah, but I'm glad to be the one to introduce it to you.
This is so cool. Yeah, thank you for sharing. Yeah. I cannot wait to play this. This is great. Okay, so let's move on to something a little different that I put on the list, hidden gem, that this designer, he is a favorite of the shows. We actually have had him on the show, Dr. Steve Finn. The game is our number 8, Alpujarras. Now, some people say Alpujarras. I'm saying Alpujarras. I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but that's how I'm going to pronounce it. This is a classic Steve Finn game where it's a Euro game, but distilled down to like about a 30 to 45 minute game. And this is there's Richard, they're talking about the game there, and he's actually going off for Kimberly's playthrough. This is a really excellent Euro game that you can play in about 45 minutes. At its heart, it's a pick up and deliver game, which I'm surprised Richard liked it so much because it is pick up and deliver, but I guess when I really thought about it, it's more of a worker placement action selection game where you're doing the classic, remember that game Tokaido where whoever's in last place will take it's their turn. That's how this works. You're going along the track on the outside there, and whoever's in the last spot will get to move their token to whatever spot they want, take that action, and then the next player behind gets to go. So you can totally skip spaces. You try not to because you want to, get as much be as efficient as you can with your actions, but what you try to do is you are fruit farmers and you're trying to collect the fruits and deliver them to people who have the different orders and fulfill those orders for the most points. And what's really neat is the way they introduce the fruits to the different fields. It's a thing called irrigation. So the irrigation, you come into there and you reveal what the next fruit is and where it's going to go, and then you're trying to time your deliveries to go there at the right time. So timing has a lot to do with it, and again, it's a really simple game. Not simple game, but it's really easy to understand and get to the table. We were just talking about that, games that are easy to get to the table, but I was like really surprised, like, wow, there's a lot more going on here than I thought. And I find that true of a lot of Steve Finn's designs, like Floriferous or Herbaceous, like very simple turns, but all of a sudden it's like, oh, I need to think a little bit more than I expected to. And I love that about his games. And that's why this hidden gem, which I don't know if it's the name that was off-putting, or maybe it's another farming game, whatever. But folks, don't let this one go by. This is a fantastic game. Check it out. It's our number 8, Alpujarras from Steve Finn.
Great pick. I love that Tokaido mechanic, and I haven't really seen it re-implemented in a lot of other ways. So that automatically pulls me in. I love anything that sort of messes with player order like that. Sounds super interesting.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
I want to love that mechanic, but I just feel like I dislike so many games that use it.
Really?
Okay, I say so many. It's 2. It's Tokaido.
You don't like Tokaido?
You don't like Tokaido?
No. I can play Tokaido at 4 players with the Crossroads expansion. That's the only the only thing I can do.
I do like that Crossroads expansion. Agreed.
I don't think I've ever met someone who dislikes Tokaido. Like I know people who think it's too simple or whatever, but that's interesting take.
And then I'm not a huge fan of Patchwork as well, which uses it as well.
But I think
good. I know. I knew
just a hater.
Like you there, but I do think I want to like it, and I think there are ways to use it innovatively, and I also think that honestly, any one of Steve Finn's games could be on this list as a hidden gem, because I feel like the caliber of his games is generally quite good.
Agreed.
And they never get that sort of widespread recognition because they don't really get published mass produced because they're just on sort of a smaller scale. Right. Boutique publisher.
So true.
But,
Richard,
really good pick, I think.
Thank you. Yeah, Richard calls him Steve Finn the master of 20-minute games. Like his designs that fall in that space are just always so good. And I chose this one mainly because it was published under his imprint, Finn's Games. He does a lot of stuff with Pencil First, and I feel like Pencil First has a little more reach, whereas his own publishing company doesn't really have as far reach. So, folks, go check out Alpujarras, number 8 on the list. Very, very good game. But let's move on to number 7. We're going to go back to Chris for this one. Is that right? Yes, Chris, our number 7.
That's right. And I looked it up twice while you were talking, Ruel, because I forgot about it both times. That's how hidden it is. That's how nobody knows about it. It just slips through your fingers. And this one is the Art Society, which I played at the Level Up Gaming Retreat, and it was a friggin' blast. It's a great game. This is a bidding game where you are adding paintings to your beautiful gallery. But there's always a number of restrictions as to how your paintings can be the most beautiful. Obviously, paintings that have the same color must be touching, paintings of a different color, or else it just clutters up the composition. And obviously the frames of the paintings must be touching the same frame because it makes it more beautiful. And obviously there's one strip where it's in the eye line of whoever looks and walks around that are going to be the most valuable paintings, because those are the ones that people are going to put their gaze upon naturally. So there's all those scoring conditions. But I really like the idea of the bidding, where if it's your turn, you get to choose how many paintings of what shapes go up. So there's always going to be, I think, 7 or like 3 more than the number of players. I don't know, some number of paintings that will be out. But if you really want a large shape painting and you can see in other people's gallery walls that they would hate that, you could essentially just take all of the large paintings and put them up for auction. But that means they're all up for auction, and so like you probably won't get them down the line. And so it's really fun in terms of figuring out, pushing your luck of, okay, I want this shape, but I'm hoping that this color comes out. And then in addition, you all have like numbers from 1 to 20, and these are one-time use bids on getting to choose who takes the first painting. And so you can put a whole bunch of great stuff out, but everybody could bid higher than you and you could not get it. And so there's a lot of fun bidding elements to this, combined with a really nice, fun puzzle that I think just works really well, and people should know about it more. It's fun.
Yeah. You were talking about bidding mechanisms. I totally thought about our conversation during the pre-show. Folks, during the pre-show, hit that extended edition, and you can find out the 3 Knizia games that we recommend people get. And we talked about bidding mechanisms. I feel like this has a little bit of Knizia influence in it, Chris. Would you call it a Knizia type influence?
I'll say yes.
Yeah. Right?
Let's give him some more accolades. He needs them.
More credit.
He needs more.
He's tough. He's under his luck right now.
Yeah. This is a game I'm dying to play. I've heard so many good things about this, but again, for whatever reason, it didn't take off. Like I thought it would. So I remember we did I think last year we did an Essen preview, and people were raving about it, and it just sort of came and went, unfortunately. But I'm glad to know it's a good game, Chris.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, really solid.
I like that spatial puzzle. I love, I know it's not polyominoes, but I love anything that's spatial, and fitting stuff onto a grid kind of has that use for Odin. Whenever you're trying to like make the best use of your space, I love that.
Yeah.
I've seen this game come across my feed a bunch because I keep getting it confused for the art Project, which was a game that we also released in 2023.
Yeah.
So my entire experience with the Art Society is going, shoot, that's not wrong one. Every time I'll be like scrubbing, I'll be like, where are they talking? When are they going to talk about the Art Project? And then I realize they talked about Art Society. So the only chip on my shoulder I have about this game is the name was too close to a game we were actively promoting at the same time.
Yeah.
And I kept getting debated on social media thinking they were talking about us, as they weren't. But it looks great. I'm glad you highlighted it, because I didn't actually really know anything about it, except for that I kept getting tricked, and it looks like something I
confused
enjoy.
too. Even when I was like, oh yeah, art.
Yeah.
Well, I saw Art Society, and I was like, is that the one that I was? No, Art Project. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Sometimes that just happens where you just get bad luck as a publisher, and you happen to put out games of the similar names at the same time.
And maybe that's part of the reason why it sort of came.
Oh God, don't blame us.
Right. I mean,
we're responsible.
Really the op just really tanked it. The op. I saw Ray going around.
Boy. I
saw these attack ads. I saw so many attack ads that were like, "Hey,
oh no,
you think you want to play the Art Society? No, wait, did I get it wrong? Yeah, no, okay, I did get it right.
The SEO. Oh no.
Sponsored by the Art Project.
Nice. Let's move on before we get in any more trouble. Number 6, Ray, what do you got for us?
So my number 6 is a game called Smug Owls. This is a riddle answering game, and I initially completely wrote it off because I thought it was just like an apples to apples game. I tend to really not like apples to apples clones or any sort of judge decides games. I think they're king-makey and annoying. This, however, is really clever. I will preface by saying I don't love the king making. I don't love that one person just says, this is my favorite, and that person gets points. That aside, it's a great game. I think it's really clever. I put this on this list because the deck of cards that you use in this is so clever. So the mechanic is basically you, as you see in that setup, you flip over 3 cards, and it will magically make a relatively coherent riddle. I have yet to find a riddle where I'm like, I can't think of anything to answer this. So you'll flip over 3 cards, and it might be like, what rises before it breaks, right? And then everyone in real time has to think of an answer to that, and you put your hand in the middle when you have an answer. And the one thing I like, the one twist on the judge decides, you got your answer, Chris? Do you have an answer? Or
Oh yeah, I got my answer.
Okay, all right. Well, we'll get to it in a second.
That was me getting an answer.
Okay.
Yeah.
My favorite thing about this is that if you're the last person, or if you're the last person to put your hand in, you become the judge. That's one thing that I do like about it. If you just can't think of anything, you sort of just default to being the judge, which I think is nice.
Oh, that's fun.
Chris,
that's great.
Yeah, Chris, do you have an answer to what rises before it breaks?
I do, but do you have an answer, Ray?
Yeah, I have one.
Do you? Is it the same one? I don't know.
I have a fever.
Mine is bread.
Oh, bread is great. And so Chris would say bread. I would say a fever. And then Ruel, if Ruel's our judge, would decide which one he thought was the best answer to the riddle, and then we would get points. That's pretty much it. But I really do. There's something about the cards that they manage to always have, again, a coherent riddle. And it is, you feel clever. You feel clever coming up with an answer to it. And I think that's really fun. Right? You're like, oh, it
I just felt very clever.
Itch.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and then I felt even more clever when you picked a different one that was equally good.
Yeah. I've just found through playing this game that it actually is really satisfying answering the riddles. We don't really play for points. It's just fun to just be the person who just came up with the most clever, most accurate answer. So it's a fun end of the night party game. And that's Smug Owls. And also I think the art is really cute. It's got this old timey cartoon style to it. Really small box, really small footprint. So you really can't go wrong with it. Even if you don't like that kind of apples to apples style, which admittedly I don't. I just think that this magic deck of riddles is really well constructed and is very fun to race your other friends to come up with a legitimate answer.
Yeah, that's so clever. I just to think about having those cards and they always come up with a clever riddle. That's neat, and I don't see. So I'm the same way, Ray. I'm not really a fan of those type of apples to apples games, whatever. But yeah, having that deck of cards like that, I think it's a game changer, literally. So that sounds cool. I would totally play this. It looks fun. Yeah,
it's actually really well thought out. I've yet to come across a combination where someone can't think of something that makes some amount of sense. So,
right.
Yeah, if you like those kind of brain teasers, that kind of stuff, Smug Owls is great. It's like $15.
Oh,
go for it.
There it is. Hidden gem, folks.
Pretty
for
good.
Under $20.
It's a real hidden gem too, because I'd never heard of it.
There we go. I'm 2 for 2. Let's go.
That's right. 2 for 2. Well done, Ray.
Good.
Okay.
And in terms of board game geek rankings, I've been sitting around like the 2,000 area, and Smug Owls is like 12,000.
Hey, there we go.
Alpujarras is 10,000 as well.
Wow. What about Retrograde? How far was Retrograde? Do you have
Retrograde? I'll look that up. Yeah,
because that's another one I had no idea about, and I'm super excited.
Retrograde is 14,000.
Wow, Ray going deep. This is awesome.
These are hidden. Ray. Me, I'm not hidden at all. I'm a friggin'
You're right
little idiot.
Okay.
I'm just out in the open, just waving in the breeze.
Exactly. Let's move on to our number 5. This is back to me. This is a game that was I felt like it was fairly popular on Kickstarter, but I really enjoy this game. I think it's awesome. I'm just going to tell you right now, it's our number 5, Age of Comics: The Golden Years. This is a worker placement game, and the theme is what drew me to this right off the bat. I'm a comic geek back in the day, and this game is set in the 1940s, 50s U.S., whereas the golden age of comics, when all the classics, Superman, Spider-Man, all of them, around that time where they're being invented and being published. And in this game, you are a company. I don't know if it was a public company, but a company where you're publishing comic books. And so, of course, you're going to have to hire writers. You're going to have to hire artists. You're going to have to decide what genre you want to do. Is it the superhero genre? Are they war comics? Are they, all kinds of different genres that are available? And what you're doing is hiring, and then you do the actions, and you gather a tableau, and the tableau of the comics that you're publishing, they're going to help you earn the money, because that's what you want to do, is earn the most money, of course. There's one genre right there that Kimberly just showed, the romance genre as well. You could specialize in some of them, and then what you're going to do is on the right side of that track, if you see there, you're going out in the city, and you're making sales. And that's where this game gets really interesting. It's got a little spatial puzzle to it, because you're trying to be as efficient as possible to, make sure that you can hit all the sales that are connected to your type of comic books, your genres and whatnot. It's so clever. And I think they did such a wonderful job of really incorporating the theme in this game. The art is on point. They literally look like the old comic styles. Now, it's it's the style of those comics. They couldn't actually get the licenses, of course, of the old Marvel or DC or whatever. And these even predate some of those. But it's so cool. And the Kickstarter edition, of course, it's got metal coins. It's got these really nice upgraded tokens, and it just plays beautifully. It's I would call it a classic worker placement game with that nice little spatial puzzle of trying to figure out where in the city you want to go to make your deliveries of the comics and whatnot. And if you love comics, I mean, this is the one. Now, there was a game that recently came out called Comic Hunters, or that was all the rage.
Hunters.
Yeah, all the rage at this Gen Con. That is a terrific game. But this one, if you're looking for more of a deeper, medium weight Euro style game, this is the one for you, folks. It's our number 5, Age of Comics: The Golden Years.
Yeah, these are two of my favorite mechanics. Some sort of spatial puzzle and worker placement. That sounds awesome. I've never heard of this, so good job on the deep cut. It sounds perfect for me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
unfortunately, I have heard of it, Ruel, because it was on Kickstarter. So I did hear, but I remember. I'm glad that you like it. Like, I haven't played it. I just remember thinking it looked neat when I reviewed it. Like, did the crowdfunding countdown. But yeah, that's great that you like it. And this is also 3,035.
Okay,
so better than mine in terms of the hidden gems.
There it is. Yeah, Age of Comics.
You're still okay.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Chris. I also want to say I got to do a paid preview of it, I think 2 years ago with the prototype. The prototype was fine, but then getting the actual production copy, mind blowing. It was so.
Was that in that video? Was that final production or was that prototype?
I think that was prototype. Like what Kimberly,
Okay.
It might have been the same. We might have shared the same copy. Now that I'm looking at it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean the prototype looked terrific. But yeah, the actual components for the final were just out of this world. Fantastic.
Nice.
So yeah, Age of Comics: The Golden Years. Let's move on to our number 4, which I believe is back to Chris. Yes.
Back to me. It is nice. Yeah, you can see that it is the same production copy because Ruel scrawled on every single piece. Ruel was here.
I was.
That's how you know if you're ever getting a production copy and it was sent and it says that on it. Ruel used it as well.
Sorry, folks.
That's Ruel likes to. Yeah, it's wild. Now that I've said something, you'll see it pop up in so many different videos. It's something you don't notice until like you're aware, and then you can't stop seeing it.
It's an Easter egg, folks.
Our number 4 is a 5 out of 5 game for me. This game is fantastic. Ooh. The only reason why I was like, I don't know if this game is like completely amazing, and I didn't give it like seal of best of the year, drop all the pieces on my head feeling, but like it really, I think, is deserving of that. This game is so good. This is City of the Great Machine, and I only docked it because I was like, I don't know how this will translate both in solo and in co-op. And then everybody in the comments was like, no, that's my favorite way to play. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, well, great. That's fantastic. I really love this game. It is so fun. It's something that, again, I thought would look good, but then just over delivered on the expectations. One player plays the Great Machine, the other player plays the Revolutionaries. There are always 3 Revolutionaries, so if there's one person, they play all 3. If there's 3 people on a team, you just play one. And you have to commit to whatever you're doing as the Revolutionaries, and then the Great Machine, or wherever you're going at least, and then the Great Machine will get to respond, and then you reveal where you've gone. So it's kind of like a little hide-and-seek game. People call it program movement, and it's kind of programming because you decide what you're doing beforehand, and then someone else has to respond. But it is such a fun mind game between the machine and the Revolutionaries. It's so exciting of seeing an open space on the board and being like, man, they could really do some damage if they went over there. But do they think I'm going to push a bunch of guards into that area? Or should I focus my attention on somewhere else? Should I redistribute everything? It's a really fun back and forth, and I love it at 2 players because it's a real mind game, and I love it at 4 players because the team is trying desperately to communicate their plans to each other while not giving away information. They'll be like, okay, I think you should you go? Yeah, and then I'll do, and they're just like gesturing on cards, and then meanwhile the Great Machine is like, yes. Hello, what is it you're saying? My spies are hearing whispers in the streets. And that feeling that comes about really makes it like a top experience for me. Love this game. It's rated 2266 on Board Game Geek.
Okay.
And I think that's too low. Again, lower than the 2. This is my lowest. All of mine were like 19, 2022. I didn't go that far down. I started scrolling past 1,000, and when I found 3 that I liked, I stopped. Is pretty much what happened. That's how I made my list. But as soon as I saw City of the Great Machine, I was like, okay, perfect, awesome, love it. This is my number 1. Can't wait to talk about it. Really highly recommend this game.
Yeah,
great.
Yeah, this is another one that I remember hearing a lot about, and everyone that's played it that I know, they love it. And for whatever reason, it just didn't take off to be like the next big thing. So I'm not really sure why, but I've heard nothing but good things. I have not played it yet, but I'm looking forward to one of these days, Chris. It looks wonderful.
Yeah.
I remember you talking about it last year. It was the first time I'd heard about it. It was on the show when you were talking about it. And I just love that asymmetric, that one versus many. It's such an underutilized mechanic, and doing that well truly does create one of like the coolest feelings in board that you can find in board games. Oh, love it.
Yeah,
when it's executed well. Oof.
Yeah,
probably my favorite one versus many that I've ever played. I think. I would say that.
And now
for sure.
I'm thinking maybe that might be part of the reason why it didn't take off, that one versus many, because I don't know if it's maybe a lot of people don't like that. I know a friend of mine complained about one versus many back in the day because he always ended up being the one because it was his game and he wanted to be part of the many.
No.
Yeah, so
I love being the one.
I do
it's
too.
Like it's the only time I'll play co-op games. It's like, but is there like an evil traitor that I can be that's chasing all of you? Because then I'm so in. No, I get it. I get that it's inherently less beginner friendly. Anything that has any asymmetry to it is less beginner friendly. If you have to explain different rules to different people, that automatically will like balloon the teach and make it a little bit less. And sometimes people don't like having that adversarial, like someone at the table. It's not just like, oh, we're fighting against the game's AI. It's like, oh, we're fighting against Joe and he's coming to get us. Right. I love it. I think it creates such a fun, unique feeling. I have yet to play this, but it's a mechanic that I love. And hearing you talk about it, I'd forgotten about it. And now that you've brought it up again, I do really want to track down a copy because I love one versus many. Yeah,
it's funny how some games you hear a ton about and they're really hyped up, and then just all of a sudden they just fall off for whatever reasons. But
part of me,
there are
was
too
this
many
a
games.
Kickstarter game?
Is that what it is?
Or was this just a regular?
Yeah. This was a Kickstarter.
I feel like
it was a Kickstarter.
It depends, but I feel like part of it is like the Kickstarter lifestyle, right? Like, or the lifespan, right? A lot of hype during the campaign, and then it can sometimes be hard to get excitement for a retail release of a Kickstarter because people are like, haven't I seen this already? It's hard. I wonder if that plays into it a little bit.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point.
For sure. I'm always so confused in terms of where the life cycle these things are, because I spent so much time like looking at Kickstarters, and then a couple years later it starts hitting and like people start talking about it. I'm like, oh, okay. I already feel like I've done my exploration like way back. And especially if you're doing like a preview too. They're like, oh no, I played this and I played it a bunch and I haven't played it since. You know what I mean? Because then you're on to the next thing. And,
totally.
Yeah.
And that,
I feel like
that could
also
be like years, right? It could be years between when you played that prototype or whatever, the early preview, and then by the time it comes out in retail, it's like, wow, this is like years ago. Crazy.
Yeah, I was gonna say two things kind of related to that. One, I think a lot of people like Kickstarter fatigue, like post 2020, there was a lot of Kickstarter fatigue, and then also because of something that happened in 2020, a lot of games were delayed. I feel like the lifespan of a Kickstarter is weird now. We're kind of figuring out where we settle back in because so many games either launched or were about to fulfill, and then the shipping crisis happened, and then it's years. Like I literally during this game just got an email about my mycology Kickstarter that I sort of got I backed like 2 years ago, right? Yeah. Things like that happen, and I think it's, as a marketer, I mean, I don't work in Kickstarter games anymore, but I can imagine if I still was, like, how do you line up the Kickstarter hype versus the retailer hype when all of our barometers are kind of messed up right now? So I don't know. It's gonna be interesting to like look back on in 5 years and see how that how the shipping crisis affected both just the life cycle. I keep wanting to say life cycle of a Kickstarter game, and how we approach that Kickstarter versus retail marketing. If it's like affected consumer expectations and stuff. I don't know. Very interesting. Very interesting.
Great points, Ray. Great points.
Yeah, but I love having someone on the show who's deep into Kickstarter because I don't really pay that much attention to Kickstarter anymore. So I love a lot of the games you bring up are Kickstarter releases that if you're not in that world, if you're not checking Kickstarter weekly, you can miss them entirely. So absolutely. We were talking.
And there's so much. There's so much.
Yeah.
So much.
We were talking about during the extended edition, folks, about a Kickstarter that I totally forgot was out there. And if you want to know which one it was, go check out that link down below for the extended edition of the show. And why don't we move on to our number 3? We'll go back to Ray for this one.
Yeah, I'm already yapping. I'll yap some more. This is probably the least hidden of all of them. And I think when I said this list in, I was like, it's okay if you don't want to include it, because I understand. Because I believe Shut Up and Sit Down did talk about it. So you can come from me in the comments that it's not that hidden, but it is under 1,000, so it meets Chris's criteria. And I feel like I haven't seen that many other channels talk about it. And that's Moon. This is a game that I heavily considered putting as like beating out Darwin's Journey for Game of the Year, but I just hadn't played it enough. And oh my God, I've played this game so much in 2024 since we did our Game of the Year list. Okay, so this is a pick and pass drafting game about space capitalism. And first of all, I love a pick and pass draft. You guys know that Seven Wonders is like my baby. I love that game. No matter how many times I've played it, no matter how many better games come out, how dated that game is, I love it. It's the game that introduced me to pick and pass drafting, and it's a mechanic that I love. It scratches some weird gambling itch in my brain of, oh, is this card going to make it back to me? I don't know what it is. One of my favorite mechanics. This, I think, has, I wouldn't say replaced Seven Wonders in my collection because I have a lot of nostalgia for that game, but it's just different. It just does that, but different and better in a lot of ways. So basically, you're just building out a little space base, right? And you've got 2 different types of cards. Typically, you've got yellow and blue. Yellow is like resource production, or backwards. Blue is resource production. Yellow is like amenities that you have, right? Like restaurants and stuff. And then you have a couple of special cards that come in the form of pink and gray cards. And you're picking, you're passing, you're drafting. Couple things that I love about this game. It has some collective achievements that you can reach that really affect and influence the way that you play the game. You might be the first person to get like 5 water production or something. Just really nice. Gives you something to focus towards. Sometimes that analysis paralysis and pick and pass drafting is overwhelming. Like those achievements gives me something to strive for. There's this rover mechanic, those little white rovers that you see at the bottom of the screen. Those you can send to someone else's card, park it, and gain access to their resource or their flag. That makes it less punishing than Seven Wonders. If you get bookended by 2 people who don't have what you need in Seven Wonders, it can be really hard by that 3rd age to catch up. If you just haven't built the engine you need to, it can be really punishing. The rovers in Moon really fix that for me. And then also there are these special cards, the ones that they're actually conveniently showing on screen right now, these little first expedition cards. These are cards that every hand has, but they don't get played. They're like a special action card that you can use while you have that hand. Some of them are really weird and really brutal, and they make every game feel different. So each hand kind of has, obviously, the cards in it that you're drafting, but also this special card that affects whoever has that hand, what they can do. Very interesting. It's just really clean. I find this genre so addicting. I was initially turned off by the art. As you guys know, space games are not really an aesthetic I enjoy, but there's something kind of goofy about this. If you look at these cards, it's bad in a fun way, which I don't know how else to describe it. It's all kind of goofy and weird if you look closely at them. And I also like how clean the art is. A lot of the thing that often turns me off from space games is I can find them so busy. They're so like, they're trying so hard to look futuristic and cool that I'm like, my eyes are bleeding. What am I looking at? This is really clean. Yeah, I love it. Just really solid pick and pass drafting game. I played this a ton this year. I haven't played Seven Wonders at all. Just been playing a lot of Moon. Really enjoy it.
Nice. I do like the art in this, Ray. You're right. It's very almost like minimalist, I guess.
Totally.
For a sci-fi game, and it was really it was neat to see this on your list because I know you're not a sci-fi game fan. So to see this is really wonderful. I'll admit,
it took me by surprise.
I totally did not know about this game either. This one totally flew under my radar. I didn't know this existed.
Hey.
So this looks great. And if it's a Seven Wonders style game, I'm all in. Yeah, I love those type of pick and pass games.
Well, this one still beat all of my picks, Ray. It's 2692, so it's even further down on the list. I looked into Moon a bunch when it was on Kickstarter, so but I thought it looked cool. I'm glad you enjoy it. And I don't know if you mentioned or if I missed it. Have you played Villagers a bunch, or have you played Villagers at all?
No,
you have not.
No,
okay, yeah,
I haven't.
I know it's the same designer, same like sort of art style, and I was wondering if you'd played the 2. But now I will wonder until that happens.
Nice.
That's all I got for you.
I love it.
Wow. Great contribution.
Let's go to number 2. We're almost at the end of the list here, folks. And Rich will be joining us for his thoughts after this one, and also the number 1 on the list. But first, I'm going to tell you all about number 2. This is a game that I really, really enjoyed. I think this is just a really chill, nice, relaxing game. It's our number 2. It is called Starry Night Sky. And this is a game by one of my favorite designers, Emma Larkins. You may know her from a little game called Abandon All Artichokes. And she does these wonderful games. I always feel like her games really just distill or strip down mechanics to their essence. And this one, I really enjoy this because it is you're grabbing stars out of a bag. So, and you're placing them. It's almost, I don't want to call it area control, but it's also a goal fulfillments. So on your turn, you're just going in a little bag and grabbing these different stars or different colors, and you're going exploring in the constellations. You're trying to complete constellations by getting the right combination of stars. You have your own little supply that you have on your player board, and you move these cute little telescopes around, and you'll move a telescope and you're going to place stars there. And before every turn, you actually draw an objective card. So it's really cool. It's like continually moving. I really like that about this game. You always have new objectives to pull from, and you're just moving along, and it's a race to a certain number of points. And then at the end, when the end triggers, whoever has the most points wins. Something about this, I really appreciate Emma's designs for how clean they are. And again, a theme that I have in a lot of the games here that we've talked about are games that are easy to get to the table. And Starry Night Sky is one of them. I loved playing this game, 2 players, 3 players, and 4 players. I think I was trying to mess around with like a solo mode as well, but that may not have worked. But it's still a wonderful game. Really neat to see Buffalo Games, a publisher, get into this. They are primarily known for puzzles, like jigsaw puzzles. So to get a game like this, instead of just typical cardboard pieces, they actually upped it up and upped the ante a little bit. And the stars are like little plastic translucent stars, are really neat. And same with the little telescopes and stuff. So just a little shout out to them for the nice little uptick in production value, and still at a accessible price as well. So that's our number 2, Starry Night Sky.
Yeah, this looks great.
Well,
I love Emma Larkins as well as a designer, and somehow totally missed this one. It looks beautiful.
Yeah, I don't know what it
is. I've never heard of it.
Yeah, this is I
hidden
feel like
gem.
Yeah, it is a total hidden gem. I think with Abandon All Artichokes, she had done that game with Game Rights, so Game Rights pretty well known. And I think Buffalo Games, this is one of their first like forays into board games. They're mainly literally just jigsaw puzzles. They have a ton of them, and I think this might have been maybe their second or third board game, so maybe it didn't have quite the promotional whatnot behind it, but it's wonderful, folks, and I definitely recommend checking out sort of like set collection style game with beautiful components, Starry Night Sky. Okay.
And I've got good news for you, Ruel. This one's closer to Ray's numbers at 8,790.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
Deep cut. Love it.
We're all over the place. This is great. Well, that's our 10 through 2. We got to talk to Richard now and find out what the number 1 is. He's going to share some thoughts on our picks as well. Richard, take it away.
Okay. Thank you, gang. This is a fantastic list. First of all, Chris, let me highly agree with you on Astronauts. I think you and me were the 2 biggest boosters of this game in the industry, although sadly, as you probably already mentioned, it lives in the shadow of Aeon's End, even though it does deserve to stand in the light on its own. And Chris, I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about this. I maybe should zip my lip. I think I'll just say, watch this space, because there is something coming that has not been announced yet that, well, I think you and I are going to continue to be very, very excited about. Anyway, though, Ray, Retrograde, I really would love to try this sometime. I love the theme. Ruel, Alpujarras. This might be, Steve Finn's second, maybe third greatest design of all time. And certainly, just a masterstroke. I love it to pieces. I think it's great. Chris, Art Society is fantastic, not only for its gameplay, but for its art. as well. It should have gotten more nods for just how pretty it is with such a wide variety of art on all those tiles. And then Smug Owls. Ray, never even heard of it. That's why I always love you being here to introduce me to things that come out of left field. And of course, a list of hidden gems. A few of them should surprise me. Ruel, Age of Comics, yeah. Kimberly, I think, did a run-through for it on the channel. It was excellent. Such a sharp thematic Euro. City of the Great Machine. Chris, if you and I ever play a game together, it's got to be this. I would so like to try it. And then Ray, Moon. Yeah, you know what? I love... what are the other games from Sinister Fish? Villagers and Streets. Those are both excellent games. So I expect Moon must be excellent as well. But yeah, these games just don't really seem to stand out. Maybe it's because the very stark and austere, severe aesthetic to them. I don't know. And then Ruel, Starry Night Sky. This is a lovely little gateway game. I would recommend it for first-time gamers. But if you like the same subject matter of observing constellations in the Starry Night Sky, but you would like a heavier, crunchier game from 2023, folks should check out Nebula. There's a bonus right there for you. But anyway, all that out of the way, I've now got to talk about our number one on the list. This game made my best games of 2023. It was in my top 30. I think it's absolutely fantastic. It is very, very difficult to get your hands on, I'm sorry to say. It is Aiye. Aiye. Oh, I keep forgetting how to pronounce it. Oh, hold on. Aiye. 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 Still, I'm not quite sure, but at least the publisher, the Brazilian publisher, has actually put a pronunciation guide on the Board Game Geek page after I've complained about this so many times in roundups and best of the year lists, because I've talked about Aiye several times. And for folks who are listening instead of watching, it's spelled A-I-Y-E if you want to go looking for it. Publishers, do not name your game something that's completely unpronounceable in pretty much every language there is, because it just ensures that word of mouth fundamentally cannot spread about your game. Anyway, A-I-Y-E. Why do I think this game is so fantastic? This is a very, very sharp and novel approach to one of the greatest board game mechanisms in human history, the Mancala. The idea of, hey, pick up a bunch of seeds, move them as a group, drop them off from one to the other, and then activate the last thing, in your area. Mancalas were revitalized a few years ago by Stefan Feld, almost a decade ago now, when he brought out Trajan, even though Mancalas have been with us for centuries, even millennia, I think. Isn't it like one of the oldest known games that we've actually found copies of in ancient Roman sites or something like that? Anyway, though, this, even though Mancalas have been around that long, the developers here have come up with a new way for us to play a Mancala game, and it's awesome. The Mancala is actually this row of cards. Each player has one, and basically below each column is a bunch of seeds or these discs. You pick one column and then you start dropping the discs off one after another, going to the right, wrapping around. So this is kind of, even though it's straight line, you might as well consider it a circular thing. And then whatever's the last thing you drop, that's what you activate. So Pablo here on the right. Oh, I should say, I've not done a video for this yet. I'm using Mesa Secreta, Secret Table, a Brazilian board game channel, who unfortunately speak in Portuguese, but they do a good job of showing what the game looks like. Pablo here is probably going to activate this single disc over there so that he can, just move it one to the right and then fire off his biggest, most powerful column in the rondelle, and activate a bunch of things. But as you can see, there's a bunch of cards up there. Tarugo is trying to figure out where he's going to add a new card to make a different column in his Mancala more powerful. And wow, when he eventually activates, he's going to, what has he got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, that's nice. He's activated this big thing, and then he's going to activate it again, 2 back to back, which is going to generate a lot more stuff for him. He's got a nice little engine he's built for himself, and then he's got a few other ones that are smaller and less impactful, whereas Pablo is a bit more spread out. So, This is a Mancala game where we are constantly changing and morphing our actual Mancala space by buying cards from the display, adding them to our Mancalas, either paying big premiums to add them to existing columns or creating new columns, which we never want to activate because they only have one card, so they won't be very good. But a lot of the powers you can activate on these different things allows you to combine different columns. So you can move one of these singles into this triple. And while it would normally cost a lot to just buy a card and put it on the floor, it's free to move them. So in this game, you're constantly shrinking and growing your Mancalas, trying to create the best combination of abilities. So, and on top of that, it's a really great looking game with an Afrofuturistic look to it, and it's just a blast to play. Tons of replayability built in. Every time you play, you're going to have different puzzles to solve, and it's just fantastic. And the reason it's a hidden gem, the reason it's overlooked, is because it is only available in Brazil. And there's several Brazilian channels that have covered it because everybody who's played it loves it and raves about it, but you just can't get your hands on it. Now, if you are in North America anyway, there are a couple of outlets. I recall, Chris, there's one in Canada. And then I know there's a friendly local game store in Portland that also ships. They're getting regular shipments of the game in every once in a while. And then they just pretty much just disappear immediately because as soon as they're in, everybody buys them up and gets them shipped all over the place. So you might want to go to the forums for Aiye in AIYE in Board Game Geek and find the how can I get this game thread, and you can get more information about these places that are getting it shipped out of Brazil, because right now it is very, very difficult to get, and that is a crying shame. I do not understand why other publishers have not picked this up. Ray, I do not understand why other publishers have not picked this up. Maybe it's a little bit too crunchy for the op, quite frankly, but it's absolutely brilliant. I think it is criminally overlooked because it just has not been picked up for wider distribution. But this is one of the best games of 2023, which for my taste is the greatest year ever in modern board games. So I highly recommend, number one on our list, AIYE. And folks, I'm not done yet. I've given you one. I've got 9 more 2023 hidden gems to talk about. If you want to hear about them, jump over to the extended edition of this show. There's a link for it down in the show notes, and I will keep going because I've got 9 more great hidden gems to tell you about. Okay, but in the meantime, back to the gang.
Aiye looks fantastic, folks. I have not heard of the game. Obviously, a Brazilian publisher. We need to get on that and bring that on over. Richard was suggesting.
Apparently, by we, he means me. I have to get on it. Apparently, this is my job. Man, I would love it if we could pick this up. That game looks beautiful. I love the art. Oh my god, it looks like cool. It has kind of like an indie video game, kind of like a style you don't see in board games that you really only see in like video games. It's so stunning.
Agreed.
Oh my goodness.
It looks fantastic.
Oh my gosh.
And I love the whole Mancala mechanism, and it almost looks like a Mancala / tableau builder. It looks really neat. But hey, folks, that's our top 10 hidden gems of 2023. Thanks for tuning in. Like Richard said, be sure to click on the links below for the extended edition where we're going to talk about a bunch more games that were hidden gems from that year. And want to thank our sponsor as well, Phalanx Games. Appreciate them sponsoring this episode of the R&R Show. Thanks again for watching. Talk to you soon. So long. Bye-bye. And hello, we are back with the post-show, folks. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn it back over to Richard because Richard's got a bunch of games that he wants to talk about. Some hidden gems. We have some hidden gems as well. Let us know what yours are, and we'll talk about that after the video. It's going to be a few minutes here, so stick around.
Okay, welcome to the post show, everybody. I've got a top 10, although you've already heard 2 of them in the main show, but I'm going to count down the rest for you now, and I'll try to do it quick to give the gang more time since they're the ones actually live, and I'm just pre-taped. Anyway, you already know the number 1. Oh my gosh, pronounced Aiye. 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 You have to put the emphasis on the last syllable there. But anyway, though, the Mancala building game set in the astonishing Afrofuturistic universe. It's fantastic. I gave it an 8.4. That is very, very high for me. And by the way, yeah, if you come down, I mentioned in the main show, if you come down to the forums, you can see there's a few different threads. Portland Game Collective, they are regularly selling it. They get in another shipment and then they just disappear really quick, so you could sign up for them. And I could have sworn one of these things had a way to get it in Canada as well. And then, of course, people are asking about how to get it in Europe. Now, one thing I should say, I did notice when I was looking for a video to show that it's available on Tabletopia. So you don't have to take my word for it, folks. Tabletopia is free. You can go on tabletopia.com right now, create a free account, and try it out for yourself if you want to see it as a goer. Anyway, this is my number one. And the reason it's my number one is not only based on its game quality, but based on how few people have known about it. And I'm using a very specific, very scientific method, which I did not mention in the main show. It's the number of voters on Board Game Geek. Only 47 people have actually played this game enough and have a Board Game Geek account and feel strongly enough about it to actually give it a rating. That is an incredibly small number. You know, when games regularly get thousands or, you know, tens of thousands, only 47 people in the world, me being one of them. So that's why Aiye came in at number one. But let's now go back to number 10 on my personal list, Mindspace, with only, 672. So this is a countdown. 672 people have rated it, so it's a little bit less hidden than my number one. Anyway, what is it? It is a brilliant roll and write about trying to fill our brains with all kind of wonderful combinations of memories. And we do it as a roll and write polyomino thing. You can see, look, here's a brain that's pretty much completed. How much gray matter was replaced with green and purple and blue, representing different types of thoughts and emotions and memories? Well, it's all based on these dice and these cards. These cards are on a conveyor belt. And right now, if this is what rolled, I could put an orange this shape on my board if I wanted, because the two came there. Or I could put a, I can't think of the word. Blue. Right. Basically, because the blue die ended up with a 4. I'm sorry, no, I was talking about this orange one. Because the orange die ended up with a 2, that meant this die is saying I could draw this on my map, but only with the orange pin. And each one of the different colors represents a different type of thought in your brain, and they score differently and they behave differently. So if I really wanted to get this long shape, because I've got the perfect spot for it, I'd have to do it with a blue pin. And is that going to be the right power I want to use to fill the space in? And here's the deal. I pick one of these, and then all the cards shuffle to the right, and the dice get re-rolled. So these cards only stick around so long. So I might want to wait for the perfect time, for the perfect color for the shape I want, but it's not going to stick around. So maybe I will draw it as a blue to fill the space in, even if it's totally the wrong thing that I'm not trying to score. I love conveyor belts in games, and I love roll and writes, and I love polyomino Tetris tile laying, and so Mindspace does a bunch of stuff I love. It's a reimplementation of an older Asian game, and it came out in 2023, and it was a smallish hit, but this should be a monster hit. This should be on the top of everybody's favorite roll and writes, like it is mine. Anyway, then we go on to the next one, Rebuilding Seattle. Ruel, I know you're right there with me. You love it as much as I do, as well as 398 other people. This is from WizKids. They're a pretty big publisher, but somehow this did just not catch fire, and that is a real shame, because it is another excellent polyomino tile layer, and also an economic game where we are trying to design our own perfect version of Seattle. It's a dual layer tile builder where you're laying down foundations with all kinds of icons to cover up, and then grabbing the right tiles to cover them up to score in lots of different ways. The tricky thing is there are these where are they? There's these events. On your turn, you can either grab more tiles, or you can trigger one of these scoring events, and that means everybody has to score. And I might not be ready to score. Do I have enough time to get one more blue tile before somebody triggers the blue scoring, or do I go for something else now? There's a lot of dynamism and variety baked in. And, Seattle's my favorite city in the world, and so I personally love it. And a lot more people than 398 should be ranking it, Rebuilding Seattle. Then number 8 is Comet. From Peter Prinz, the designer of one of the all-time great gateway Euros. Why can't I think of it now? I am drawing Thebes, of course. He's done a few things over the years, but Thebes was his big monster hit a million years ago, and finally he comes back with Comet many years later. And this is a blast of a game where we are, in the oncoming Comet, about to wipe out all of the dinosaurs. We're trying to, like that animated feature film series, direct them to safety so they can survive. And every time we get some of these animals to the caves for safety, we unlock more special powers that will, based on the different animals, that will let us rescue even more. And a big part of this game is a checkers-y hopscotch type stuff, because the red player over here could actually hopscotch right over the green player, or could hopscotch this one over this one. So you want to kind of get these bundled together. Like the yellow player here could move one step forward, or could hopscotch over to move quicker. So you're trying to create these channels to let you move quickly, but then when you see other players moving towards the channel you've built, you might want to start collapsing it so they can't benefit from the work you've done. It's a colorful game with lots of cool special powers. Should get a lot more attention. Comet. Then there is Delta. Sadly, this will probably forever be a hidden gem, with only 282 people rating it as of today, because it is from Game Brewer, who are going out of business. So pretty soon you will not be able to get this game at all. I know Game Brewer has already sold out of their final copies of it. If you ever run across it in a game store or something like that, folks, scoop it up, because it's not going to be around for long, because sadly the publisher is gone too soon. But what is it? It is an excellent deck builder with a very cool hand management system, where after you play your cards, and the cards can do multiple things depending on what you want to do with them. They represent all, this crew you've got of different steampunk adventurers and explorers. But anyway, they end up, the cards getting discarded into different discard piles. So you're managing different discard piles that will slowly make the cards come back available to you. Wow, these are a bunch of really, are there any, there we go, finally. A picture of the game zoomed out. But even still, it's not showing the player boards, where you can actually... Okay, I give up. Apparently Game Brewer just did not want to actually show the game really set. Come on, this is ridiculous. Board game publishers don't do this. Yes, zoomed in beauty shots are nice, but we also need views of the entire freaking game. I guess I'll just... Nope, even the players don't do it. Okay, you can either see the main board or you can see the player board. There's maybe one. The important thing is, depending on where you play the cards on the main board, they can do different things and they have different strengths and weaknesses. But when you call them back to your own board, they go into different discard piles, and if you're trying to build a perfect mini deck of cards, you can recover for yourself. And that extra level of depth and complexity, as well as just a lot of really fun different elements, makes Delta an excellent, lovely little game that will sadly be all too soon forgotten, because we have to bid adieu to Game Brewer, one of the best. Anyway, then we've got Globetrotting. This is in my top 10 games, period, for 2023, and would be in my wife's too, because it's another roll and write, but this time we're not rolling and write on paper. We are doing it on globes, and this is a blast. I absolutely love this game to pieces, because it's interesting. Basically, you're trying to plan 3 different trips around the world to do in 1 year. One in autumn, one in summer, one in spring, or maybe one in winter, I forget. Anyway, 3 different seasons of trips. And every round, let's see a picture of the game set up if we can find one. I guess this will do. Every round, you can see different potential destinations you can book onto the different trips. And you've got your own secret objectives of what you're trying to do. So you're going to pick them and decide, right, is Santorini or the Isle of Skye, by the way, every single location you can go to in this game is based on a board game, which is awesome in and of itself. Anyway, you're going to pick one of those and you're going to decide, is this going to be in my summer trip, my winter trip, or my autumn trip? Because you're trying to get different things done with each of these trips. And it's a really sharp game, very enjoyable, not least of which because it is just a lot of fun to draw on these globes. But the thing that really elevates it, globe trotting, right? Globe trotting. Yes, I always forget the name of it. I'm pretty sure it's globe trotting. Is it globe trotting? Because I always want to. Yeah, it's globe trotting. The best thing about it is, you can, I mean, if you're playing on normal, you just give yourself 1 or 2 objectives. But if you want to increase the depth and complexity of the game, you can give yourself 5, 6, 7 objectives. And the more you have, the richer and crunchier and more complex it gets. And the better it gets. And the game just goes through the roof in terms of playability. The fun factor is just off the chain. If you want to turn it into, this is pretty much, when Jen and I play it, this is maybe one of the heaviest roll and writes I've ever played. Quite frankly. Oh, it's not roll and write, it's draft and write. But for that reason, plus just drawing on those globes that I love to pieces, Globetrotters should be on everybody's lips. And yet only 258 people have listed it. So drop into the next level, Humanity. Well, you should be interested in this. A lot of people should, because it's from Johan Levitt, a longtime great designer. I loved him back in the day for really wonderful Euros like Myrmidons. But these days, he's known for his brilliant puzzly games, like most notably the Turing Machine. But this is him returning to what he used to do so well back in the day, making a really great crunchy Euro about building a base on, I forget which, on Titan. Titan, which is one of the moons of Jupiter, if I recall correctly. And sadly, unfortunately, Titan is a very brown and boring-looking moon. And I think that's one of the things that hurts the game. They really leaned into the brown on this game and didn't really do much to try to make it seem very cool and exciting. But the gameplay here is brilliant because you're building up your own little, moon base over here, and you're putting your workers, to activate the different tiles you're laying, but you're also sending your workers out to the main board to grab more tiles to build. And this whole thing is kind of like a reverse time track from Tzolk'in, because instead of putting the workers on the dial and then the dial turns, you put the workers out there, and then this central, to draft whatever tiles you want, and then this central element rotates, and it won't be until a certain amount of time passes that you can get your astronauts back. So do you pay big and then say goodbye to a big part of your workforce so you can get the thing you need, or you go for baby steps? The time management in this game is great. Johan Levitt is fantastic. More people should be playing Humanity when, in fact, where are we at now? 254 people have rated it. Then we go to Ahau, Rulers of the Yucatan. Another game. Was this in my top 10 of the year? I think it maybe just missed in like my top 15 of the year. And this is an excellent, big, crunchy, sprawling Euro. That, by the way, I have to give huge props to Ape Iron Games, or Zephyrian Games, because they did lots of proper research and actually hired cultural consultants from the South American areas. So there's a lot of really great representation. The history is really well done, but the gameplay is what really makes it fantastic. This is a sharp worker placement game, but every round you've got 2 cards in hand. Or maybe you have more. I forget how many cards you have in hand. You have a certain number of cards in hand. You're going to play a card that determines what your initiative is, how fast you're going to put your worker out on the board, and what area you're going to put them in. And so after you've played certain cards, you might not be able to go to an area anymore, but you still want to go to that area. So what you do is you play a card that'll put you adjacent to that area. And then if you can time it right so that somebody else wants to go to the same area you're going, if they go after you, which is why turn order and initiative is such a big deal, they will bump you. They won't kick you off the board. They'll bump you into an adjoining area. And that means I can get bumped to where I wanted to go thanks to you if I can anticipate what you're doing. I love this really fresh take on worker placement, and there's a whole bunch of other really great elements aside. AHAU, Rulers of the Yucatan, deserves a lot more attention than it got with only 218 ratings. Then we have House of Cats. Man, I'm really a lot of sadly overlooked roll and writes this year. Only 199 people have played it enough to rate it. And that's crazy because it's from William Attia, one of the all-time great modern board game designers. He's the guy who brought us Kalis, who didn't invent the worker placement genre, but worker placement might not be here today if it weren't for Kalis and William Attia. And, he hasn't really done much over the years. He's got a few games here and there, but he came out of retirement to make this in a team up with one of my favorite designers of all time, Christian Osby, the guy behind Santa Maria and Avenue and Escape, Curse of the Temple. So it's a great combo of designers, and it's a great roll and write, all about trying to fill up houses full of cats and mice. The House of Cats and Mice. You can see here's a finished one where you're trying to basically do more polyomino tiling. The thing that really makes this one stand out, let's see if there's a picture of it. Let's see if there is. That'll have to do. Every time you play, you get a different combination of special powers, and you assign these different powers to different numbers. So that when the dice roll, sometimes you get cats, sometimes you get mice, but sometimes you get the numbers. And those numbers represent the different randomly selected special powers. So sometimes a really cool special power might be on a die face that's going to be more or less common to get, so you'll see it more often or less often. It's a game of puzzly cat and dicey mice, and I think it's fantastic. It deserved a lot more attention. It comes with 4 unique blueprints that would have different rules, but then more importantly, every time you play, you get a different shuffled up combination of special powers. These are just a few of them. There's like a dozen of them or something like that. And even if the same ones combine on different numbers, it makes for very, very different gameplay. And that's why I think more people should know about the House of Cats. And then I already mentioned Nebula. Ruel, you had a stargazing one. So do I. This one's actually less about stargazing and more about being the amorphous forces of nature actually creating the constellations in the nighttime sky. But it is a brilliant, crunchy little game all about trying to draft the right pieces and get them out there to score lots of different objectives. And I mean, the game is super crunchy, but also super elegant and simple and easy to play. So it's that rarest of beasts. People who love Azul should seek this out because I think they'll love this one too. But sadly, only 128 people have ranked it. And then you already know my number one, Aiye. And that's it. How long did I take? Oh my gosh, I talked for 17 minutes. I'm sorry, gang. Hopefully you had a nice time chatting with the live audience, but I'll throw back to you now.
Thanks, Richard. Appreciate it. 17 minutes worth of games, folks. So a lot of great hidden gems there. I just want to say that also I had Rebuilding Seattle on my list, Richard. Fantastic game. Again, I don't know why it's not more highly regarded. It is an absolute banger. Globetrotting looks fun. I'd never heard of that. I totally want to do a ride on a globe, right, Ray? I mean, that looks cool.
Mean, I gasped out loud when he talked about Globetrotters and he showed those little 3D globes.
Like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool. I mean, map making is like something that is very near and dear to my heart. So anything, it's so cool to have a 3D space. I love a weird little component, right? Oh,
yeah.
Oh, so
Looks
weird.
awesome.
I love it.
So cool.
It's the same people who did Canvas.
Ridiculous production decision. I love it.
Yeah.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, cool.
Love that. That's so cool.
So those are Richard's other hidden gems. Did we have any others that we'd like to share? We'll start with Chris.
Yeah, there were a few in the chat where I was like, "Oh, that was on my list." Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So like Neotopia was a good shout out.
Oh yeah.
Was that B Travis who said that? I
think it was B Travis.
Yeah, B Travis said that. Yeah, B Travis said that, and I think I might have a delay on my own self.
Yes.
As well for so I'm just going to refresh myself while you guys talk.
Okay, cool. Ray, what about you? What hidden gems did you have that didn't make the final list?
I don't have a ton. I talked about this when we did our best of 2023. Because I work for a publisher and I'm not a reviewer, I just play games when I play them. I've never been part of the trend cycle of like, oh, I have to play all the hot games in a given year. I try to be better about this with 2024 because now I'm a part of this channel and it's part of my job.
Yes.
But before in 2023, I was like, I just played what I played, right? I wasn't like seeking out games for 2023. So I didn't have a ton. I tried to talk about Tripolter again and was shot down because it was my game of the year in 2023. But that's a great one. If you don't know about Tripolter, it's an oink game where you drop things and that's the entire game. And I think that's wonderful. I had Bamboo on here, which was my other, not a super deep cut. I think Shut Up and Sit Down talked about it, but it's got a really interesting worker placement mechanic where you are the way that you get your actions are you're stacking little bits of bamboo and then you harvest them, and the whatever link of bamboo you harvest has a color that determines what kind of action you can take. I think that's really clever. I had really loud librarians on here, which is I think an Exploding Kittens game. I mean, it plays like an exploding kittens game. It's silly and whatever, but I've been having a lot of fun with that as an end of the night game. It's a loud, shouty game. It falls into your favorite mechanic of
Chris.
Shouting. Yelling is like its
There we
number
go.
one mechanic, Chris.
I love
like,
shouting.
You'd love it. Yeah, that's pretty much what I had.
Nice. A couple of things that I also had. We talked about rebuilding Seattle. Beacon Patrol, a very nice, chill tile laying game. Books of Time, a really neat, interesting, a unique tableau builder where you're actually building books and you turn the book and you're going to do the actions on different pages. Chicken, really fun push your luck game, sort of like in that zombie dice style of game, which I love. Far Away, a nice little tableau builder, which is really interesting. You build you go left to right to build, but then when you score, you go right to left. So it's a really interesting take on tableau building. Illiterati, a cooperative word game. I don't know if you know that one, Ray, but that one is one to look into.
I've heard really good things about that one.
Yeah, that one's great, Chris.
I've heard of it.
Junk Drawer from 25th Century Games. That one is a light tile laying game, really fun. Nar from Pandasaurus. A tableau building set collection game. Nar. Yeah, solid game. Talking about rebuild Seattle. And I want to mention Dice Veggies, a game from Kids Table Board Gaming. Don't let the name of that company fool you. They do some wonderful games. And that one I just happen to have here because it has the greatest component of all time, the little cardboard cleaver where you're chopping up the dice. Yeah, so cool. So those are some of the hidden gems that I had. Chris, you're back. What else do you got to share with us? Right?
Yeah. So Broken and Beautiful, that someone else said in the chat as well too. I'm scrolling up to try to find it, but I didn't. Was it Foglight? Foglight, was that you?
Might have been Foglight, yeah.
No, it was Corthane. Thank
you, Corthane.
Yeah, Broken and Beautiful is fun. I had this little game called Surfasaurus Max, Surfasaurus Rex.
Yeah, I heard about that one.
It's like you're making poker hands, but you're all playing one card, and so like you want to get in on the best hand, and like edge people out. But there's a hierarchy of hands, and so if you contribute to it, then you're going to get points. But if you don't contribute to it, you don't get points. So it's just like a little thing, and they have a dinosaur on a surfboard as a theme, which is fun. So that one's a cute little one.
Nice.
Yeah, Illiterati's a great pick too. I haven't played that one yet, but I have heard good things about it. I think I would really like it. Yeah. I remember seeing that on Kickstarter.
Yeah, it's so good.
Yeah, Surfasaurus Max.
Thanks,
Poupou Café de Touquet.
Thank you, Touquet.
What a ridiculous name. I love it.
Yeah.
It's just like really easy, good filler. Yeah, so those were the ones that were sort of higher on the mind. Richard said that 2023 was the best year for board gaming yet. Do you agree?
Yeah.
Do you agree?
What's your
or
hot take?
Was it just that it was the year of the moment?
I mean, listen, I have two things to say. One is just that as I mentioned already, I didn't play a ton of games in 2023. I felt like every time when I was trying to come up with my best of 2023 list, every time I was like, it was 2022 or 2021. I wasn't thinking in terms of years, so I don't know that I can really comment on it. But I also feel like, I don't know, post 2020 board gaming has changed a lot, and so I feel like there's like a little bit of like, oh, we can all get together again, so maybe that affects it a little bit. The best game for board gaming? I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know.
But the thing is that I would say no, but then I can't think of what I would replace it with.
Right.
Tell us, chat. What was the best year? What was the best year for board gaming?
Yeah.
2023. I feel like is a wild take on that, but I don't have a counter argument.
2023 feels like a wild take. Last month over on my Discord for my patrons for the deathmatch video that I always do, where we pit things against each other. The theme this month was, and I'll probably do the recap video at some point on my channel, but the theme this month was the top game of the past 31 years. So I went to Board Game Geek and I sorted it by each year, and I took the top ranked game of each year and pitted them against each other. So that's how we created the bracket. Ooh. That's how I knew that Tigris and Euphrates and Samurai were 1 year apart, because they were in that bracket, and they were also the top of that year. Reiner Knizia had like 3 in a row. I think Modern Art then was 99.
Wow.
And Raw is 99. Raw is 99. Samurai's 98 and Tigers and Phoenix 97. Brian Knizia getting the top 3 like in that year.
Wow.
But 2023's top game currently ranked on BGG is Hegemony, which makes sense because BGG ratings tend to skew towards more complex, and Hegemony is very complex. But it was out in the first round. And I think 2022 might have won. I forget.
Do you remember what game it was that took out Hegemony?
I do remember, but I'm not going to tell you.
Oh, you got to join the Discord.
You got to in the Discord.
No. Or like it'll be in the recap. What took out Hegemony? I don't know. I forget what took out Hegemony. It might have been in like a Frosthaven, you know?
Okay.
Which I think was the top of its year.
That's interesting.
Some legacy games went pretty far.
Yeah. I think it's an interesting topic, right? Just talking about how the gaming industry has changed since the pandemic, because it really has. I mean, we had the shipping crisis, and now we're post-pandemic, and people are getting together again. I mean, how do you rank the games that we were getting during those times when we didn't actually see each other, right? Like,
I feel like I for some reason brought up COVID a lot this stream, but I didn't mean to. But it just like it rocked our industry so intensely that I feel like we're still regaining our footing. Corthan has a wonderful answer that I love in chat. They say 2012 was the best year. Will Wheaton's tabletop came out and the hobby exploded. Honestly, that's like the most solid answer that we've had. I would if I had to pick that versus like the 2023 or whatever. That's a fantastic answer because I mean, the hobby has come a long way since then. I mean, you can make lots of comments about strides and inclusivity and types of games and diversity and all that stuff there. And so like, yes, I would not go back to 2012. I would not go back there. I'm happy with the progress the industry has made, but that was such a turning point of getting board gaming into, I wouldn't say the mainstream, but I remember watching my first Will Wheaton video and like begging my mom for Betrayal at House on the Hill because they played it and it looks so cool. Like what Will Wheaton did for the space, I do think. I mean, we all know this. I'm beating probably a dead horse, but like it's amazing. It really exploded the content creation side of it, brought it into a lot of people's lives, which I think is really cool. Yeah, and there were a lot of classics that came out around the 2010s. So I feel like that's a good. I don't know. I feel like that's a good answer. Yeah, if we're just talking about like games and content that was coming out, I think Will Wheaton is a good benchmark for that. But
I agree.
Again, happy where you are now, obviously. But
yeah, I can honestly say if it wasn't for Will Wheaton's tabletop, I would not be sitting here right now talking to y'all because of him. That got me interested in modern board gaming, and that launched me basically. Oh yeah, cool. And I ended up working for Geek and Sundry, which he was part of for a little while with Felicia Day and. One thing led to another, so it's that's a great answer, Corthan. Thank you.
B Travis says, what year did Code Words come out? Are you thinking Code Names? I assume Code Names came out 2015, which was a pretty big year as well. Yeah, it's interesting seeing like the evolution. I get the sentiment that like every year is the best year. You know what I mean? Because there's been just so much, and it feels like people just keep elevating. Yeah. And keep pushing the envelope, and everybody wanting to just like cram in there and push the envelope, and like more things popping out, which is great. And it also makes it harder to keep track of everything, and the idea that there are so many titles out there that you won't play, you know, or even hear of. I mean, like we talk about games so much. I mean, all these are lists, right? It's this list, that list. Well, we've done 97 episodes of these top 10. Like there's going to be some overlap. So let's account for a little bit of overlap, but that's conservatively, I'd say 650 games, 650 titles that were mentioned where like most people won't play that many in their life or in like 4 years time, And I think that's that idea of like, there's so amazing things. Like that idea of FOMO also feels more because there is more. And so looking back on something like 2012, when the hits were more noticeable, right? The hits were more aware, like Lords of Waterdeep, boom. That's a game that like so many people know and played and got around the time. And like you heard about that. And now there's like there's a Lords of Waterdeep quality of game that is emerging every month for sure from various publishers.
That's true.
That's an interesting point. I'm really torn because, like, on the one hand, right, like, you have so many more games, so many new people are like trying out designing for the very first time. And so in that sense, the community is booming. But in the other sense, there was something special about like the couple years right after like tabletop, right? Where like the games that were featured on that show, and as you said, just in general, the big hits were the big hits, right? Everyone played like the same game. So there was a community around that, around the sense of like you could sit down and everyone's probably played the same handful of games this year because it was smaller. So there was a community in that sense of like, sometimes I like, even on this show, I'm always so humbled by the fact that you guys are talking about games. I'm like, I've never heard of that. I haven't played it. So there's a distance, right? Because you can go down so many little rabbit holes in this space now that there is, because it's spread out, it's less together, but also spreading out is good because then more people are involved. So it's just, it's such a hard question to answer, right? Like, as I said, I wouldn't want to go back to the industry during 2012, but it was a turning point. And that's, I don't know. It's just, it's an interesting thing to reflect on for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. Folks, we're out of time. This is a wonderful conversation. Had a great show today. Thank you, Ray. Thank you, Chris. And thank you all for watching. We are going to be raiding someone, and I'm going to find someone to raid. Ray, Chris, got anything you would like to talk about before, as I set up the raid, before we get out of here?
Nope.
Nope.
Okay, no.
All right.
Go have fun. Hope you play some wonderful games.
Have a good afternoon.
When you get around to it. And don't worry about playing everything. You don't have to. But for the ones that you do play, I hope you have a wonderful time.
Yeah. Oh, we'll end on that. Oh, actually, I do want to plug something. Folks, join me tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. Pacific, over on Good Time Society. I'll be doing a show with Becca Scott called Good Morning Society. It's our weekly take on the Good Morning America type shows, where we do a morning show and hang out and talk games and have our caffeinated beverages. So be sure to check us out there. I'm going to start the raid now. We're going to go raid Losapalooza. They're playing some games on Board Game Arena right now. Dave and Ilka are wonderful people. Go say hello to them. And until next time, be kind to each other, be kind to yourself, have fun, and we'll see you later. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, friends.